Okay, so this will be a little tour around the BioPool software. The BioPool is an environment where bacteria can live. Right now what you're seeing is a pool with no bacteria. Let's start by adding one simple bacteria that has no extra behavior, like that one. So bacteria can have several shapes. You can see this one. By the way, this video will include some debug information that you would not see during the normal operation of the installation. But for example, when I hover with a mouse, you get to see several stats of the bacteria. And I get to drag around bacteria like this. And other features that we'll see as we go ahead. So that's what a bacteria looks like. This particular bacteria does nothing, reacts to nothing, has no particular features. It's a very neutral bacteria. It's just there. It will age and it will die, and that's about it. But we can create bacteria that do certain things. For example, I'm going to create one bacteria now that will just be red. So here we go. If I hover with the mouse here, we see always do a little of make red. So there you go, I have a bacteria that's red. We could do the same with different colors. So I'm going to make a similar bacteria, but it's going to be green. So here we have it, and one that's going to be blue. There's only 3 basic colors in the BioPool, which means bacteria can have these 3 colors, a combination of them or none, like this one. So you see that we made 3 bacteria that just have a simple rule, which is always do a little of one of the colors. We can go a little bit more complicated and say always do a lot of one of those colors. So in this case, this one will be blue, but also create blue. So it will spew blue color. So you can see that it's kind of generating some sort of ink, right? That creates a lot of flexibility on the system because it allows us to basically make bacteria that influence other bacteria even when they're not near them. So as you can see, the pool itself is basically a giant vector field where there's currents. You can see the little dots sort of indicate the currents. I can enable the debug mode so we can see what the field looks like here. So as the bacteria spews this blue goo, you can see the goo kind of spreads through the pool. So you can start doing interesting things like making bacteria that look for certain colors. So the next bacteria we'll make is going to be a bacteria that when it sees blue, it will, for example, follow it. So I'm going to make this bacteria with a diamond shape, so it's a little easier to spot. So this bacteria is gray, but you can see that it has these blue little things, which we call sensors, which means it's looking for blue. And when it finds blue, in this particular case, it's doing follow. So this bacteria is following anything that's blue. So if I add some more of those, they will probably spot the blue and start chasing it. That will also mean that if you have a lot of them, they will sort of surround the blue bacteria. So we've seen bacteria that have one single rule. For example, this one, when it sees blue, it will just follow. We can have a bacteria with 2 rules, for example, that when it sees blue, it follows, but also it glows, let's say, red. So this bacteria found some blue over there. You can see that circle around the bacteria. It's the influence area in which you can detect things. So it's following the blue bacteria, but also it's glowing red. So something else we can do is make the bacteria eat this color that you've seen in the pool. So for example, I'm going to make a bacteria that when it finds some blue, it will just try to eat it. So let's make this bacteria here. And let's add some blue. Actually, let's add some red and see what happens. You'll see the bacteria are looking for blue because they have these blue sensors around them. And you see that the red seems to make no difference to them. But if I add some blue, you see the sensors activated there. And in their DNA, in the RNA, they would basically eat blue. But the problem is they're not moving towards the blue, so they cannot actually eat it. That was a mistake on my part. So let's add this feature to their DNA. So when they find blue, I'm going to do lots of follow. So let's make a new bacteria model here with these features. So these guys, you see, have more rules in them, 2 rules. If I add some blue, they will follow it. Also notice, because these bacteria can move, they have flagella, so that's what allows them to move. These are the bacteria, the older version of these bacteria have no flagella. That means they cannot propel themselves. In the meantime, you see these guys have been eating a lot, so I'm going to add some more blue. And you can see how they go ahead and eat it. So this opens up a lot of options. For example, we could make bacteria loops or circles, where there's a bacteria that looks for a color and a bacteria that makes a particular color. So let's make, for example, a bacteria that follows blue. So let's see, follows blue, and that's going to have the flower shape. So this bacteria follows blue. It does nothing else. Bunch of them. Right now there's no blue, so they don't have nowhere to go. And I'm going to make now a bacteria that is always doing a little bit of blue, sorry, a lot of blue, but also is always running away from anything else. So you see, these bacteria are creating blue, but also they're trying to stay away from other bacteria as much as they can. So then you start getting these patterns, of course, because they kind of want to run away. They do run away from screen and you can't see them. But you get the idea, basically. These guys are creating blue, but also they don't want to be chased. So they will do their best to stay away, while these guys will do their best to chase them around. When you start creating these sort of loops, some interesting emerging patterns appear. Something else the bacteria are aware of is if other bacteria around them are of the same type they are, that is the same shape, or they're different. So it's what we call the family or strangers. So let's say I add one bacteria that has this bean shape. This bacteria has got 2 rules. When around family, it will do a lot of red. It means it will spew red color. But also when around family, it will try to chase them. So if I make 2 of them, they will quickly start making red, but also they will try to be together. So if I make quite a few of them, you'll quickly see a cluster of them. So if I were to do the same with a different type, and they were to, for example, make green instead, you would have these sort of colonies of bacteria that want to be together. And create these things. Let's say we now make a bacteria that wants to be with strangers, so it will just follow them. So it will, let's say, when strangers do a lot of follow, and it will look like the diamond-shaped bacteria. So here we go. When bacteria have this set of rules, they sort of surround any other bacteria. We could complement that by saying that when around family, run away. So we can make bacteria that basically just want to be around other types of bacteria, but not around their own kind. Right? So you see here, they're all trying to avoid each other, but if I were to bring another type, let's say a neutral type, they would try to get close, but at the same time, because there's others that are close, they will not, right? It's a bit of a back and forth situation. You see, this one wants to get close to this, but doesn't want to be close to this, which means they end going into this strange loop. So let's add some more and see what happens. In the meantime, you see these colonies are sort of diverging off screen, but they will just live their life and end there. Something else we haven't seen is that we can make bacteria sort of combine their output. So let's make a bacteria that's always, or let's make a bacteria that when it's around family, it will make a little bit of green and a little bit of blue, and also it will chase family, and also it will run away from strangers. Here. Let's give it another shape too. So there's going to be the flower shape. Let's get rid of this one because it was a problem with it there. So this guy is looking for anything that looks like him. Right now there's nothing around. And it will also try to run away from strangers. So if I add more of those bacteria that are strangers to it, what are these guys looking for? Oh, these guys are following strangers. Actually, let's clean up because it's a bit complicated right now. I'm going to get rid of all of them and start over. So we have our new bacteria type that it looks for a family. It follows family and it makes green and blue. And when it sees a stranger, it will run away from it. So let's add one stranger nearby. We can actually add quite a few. And see, now it's sort of surrounded. If I were to make a path, I'd probably find that path out. It's doing a decent job staying away from others. Let's say we add some family around it. So these are going to be the same type. You see immediately they start glowing green and blue, and you can see that the membrane has both colors. I also made a mistake here, so they are actually spewing as well. I probably don't want that. So let's do a little. And why not? Let's make all the colors. So when I'm with family, I will do a little of red. So we have the full rainbow. I mean the RGB rainbow. You also can see that these bacteria look much more intense. They have a lot of organelles inside, a lot of network connections between them. That means their metabolism is quite much faster, so they will not last as long because they have to do a lot of work. If I give them something to not be happy about, they'll probably run away. It depends. I mean, they have contradicting rules. They want to be with family. They want to stay away from strangers. So over time they will sort of do it, but it's hard to see it immediately. Then we can make chains, for example. Let's make a bacteria that when it sees red, it makes blue. Sorry, makes green. When a bacteria sees, let's wipe this out. A bacteria that when it sees red, it will make green. And then we'll do one that when it sees green, it will make blue. And one that when it says blue, it will make red. So you see these ones saw a little bit of the green left over there, and now that was a bit too fast, but they basically chained together in a way that they lead up each other. So if I separate them, you see, because there's nothing of any color around them right now, everything is gone. If I bring them together, nothing will happen because there's nothing of each color, but if I spew a little bit of color of any of these colors, they will sort of chain into each other. So I'm going to add some red. This one will light up. This one lights up. And whenever it gets in range, this one will light up because it sees that one. There. So here we sort of made a chain reaction given the latency of the bacteria sensing each other. So you see the red fade out now. Now this one stop emitting light. So that means this one will see no red. So this one should be fading out in a bit. They both are. This one's looking for red. Red's gone. There you go. They're gone. So that means we can also observe how quickly the signals transfer. So I'm gonna add a few around here, and all of those are looking for blue, and they will make red when they see blue. So let's make some blue right around the corner here. And of course there's no chain reaction here because they are looking for blue. If they were looking for red, then they would kind of trigger each other. They're just seeing the ink that I'm spewing and then reacting to it. But you can see the reaction time is quite fast. Let's try to make these work a bit better. So I'm gonna make some bacteria that when they see blue, they make blue, just to keep it simpler. So we can sort of experiment with the latency between them. Let's wipe all of those guys out. So here, when blue, do a little make blue. There must be some blue left because this guy is glowing. There we go. So I'm gonna add a lot of them. I should be careful with that. When they get into each other, they basically die because their membrane gets ruptured. Let's add some blue and see what happens here with this. So there's blue. And you can see how the signal spreads across them. We can make this a little prettier if we do the same with other colors too. So let's make blue, green, and red. So they will react to all of these colors. Let's make a new type. This one's going to be the bean shape. You'll notice that if you have 3 organelles, it's because you have 3 rules that you're following. So these guys, when looking for blue and finding blue, they will glow that color. Let's add some green, see what happens. So see, they react to the green. If I add some red as well, you get all of them in there. So let's make this a bit more organized. Quite a few. I guess there's some ink left over. Let's wipe that out. They should all be going to gray soon. Actually, they will never do that because they sing each other. So what I can do is add some blue just to see how it spreads. But yeah, it's hard to control them. Let's add some blue. And then you'll see the blue spread again all over. Let's do some cleanup again. Let's add some color. See, the reds quickly spreads between them, then the green, and the blue. Let's try now making a bacteria that is always running away from everything, and it's always making red trails. So this guy will start spewing red, that's all it does. And now let's make one that looks for red. So when red, do lots of follow. And when red, do lots of it color. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Let's give it another shape so it's easier to see. Here. So this one will look like a flower. Maybe it's a bit too far. There you go. So these should see the red and start following it and also start eating it. Sadly, they will go off screen, so I'm going to bring it over here. So it found some red following it. This one is not happy about being chased, but it's starting to run away. So maybe this, oh, they will go off screen again. Maybe the second bacteria is a bit too aggressive. Let's do a bit of less chasing. Let's bring this back. So here's our original bacteria spewing. I made a new version of the chasing bacteria that will... I will not sense it, will it? It's too far. Maybe with the currents we'll get lucky. So this bacteria will look for red. It found some red. Now it looks like it's actively moving that way. And it also does chase the red wherever it comes from. But in theory, at a lower speed than this one runs away from. So let's see if that works. So here you see some sort of race, right? Running away. And following it. So if we have a lot of those guys. And we bring this back here. Put it here. They really want to go off screen. Well, I guess you get the idea. Let's do something else with strangers and family. So let's do one that doesn't want to be the strangers. So when strangers swim away, and when family follow, and also when family will glow green. So here, view, they will make a green cluster and stay together. And if we have some other types, they will stay away. Let's see, what else do we have around here? I'm just gonna add some random ones, see what happens. Those are randomized. These ones will blink green when with family. Also, they will stick. That's a new feature that we haven't seen yet, which is that it makes the membranes sticky. You see? So that means we can do things like making bacteria that look for, let's say, reds, and they become sticky when they see red. So now these guys quickly see some red around them, and they will start becoming very sticky, which means they will probably create these clusters. They're not trying to swim into each other, but still they are sticky. And let's make some that are always... Oh, we forgot about the division, right? So let's make some that when they see red, they divide. Division is quite a dangerous topic because you can quickly get overrun by bacteria in the pool. You see this guy is seeing red, so it's dividing. That means like we can make things like when family divide. So I'm gonna make some taco-shaped bacteria that when C family they divide. But also to make it clear, when they see family, they will glow blue, let's say. And why not? Let's make it stick. So when they see family, let's make them stick as well. So all these taco-shaped bacteria, they will probably start making clusters. But you can see with a set of small rules, a small set of rules, you can end up with a lot of complex patterns, behaviors. And I guess that's the moral of the story for the installation, is learning how that quickly becomes a complex system out of very basic rules. All right, let's wipe this and add some random bacteria, just to get a sense of how messy this can get. Actually, you probably want some more bacteria. Let's add, yeah. Those are the DNA features. Something that I haven't shown yet is how the particle system works. So you'll probably notice that these membranes are quite organic. That's because they're based on particles. I can bring on the particles. So you can see how, for example, the flagella move, how the membrane deform. I could add some solids on the system. Let's make some sort of wall here. In fact, I'm going to edit the fields as well, so you get a sense here. I'm going to make them all flow this direction, and you'll see what happens. How they can really deform to adapt to whatever's around them. That was a very important feature for the looks of the bacteria. We did not want them to look rigid. We want them to look very organic. So using this particle system underneath really help us achieve that look. Let's see something a bit more. Let's see if that goes through. Oh, we need to bring the current back there. There we go, that sort of worked. Okay, let's clean up this mess. Reset all of this. Let's add some more random ones. There's about 400 bacteria now in the pool. You're only seeing a small crop of the whole pool. But the system is quite performant and allows us to have a lot of bacteria at the same time. There's a lot of logic being calculated for every bacteria. In fact, I can probably bring up some of these. Where was that? that's part of how the bacteria's skins react, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for not this either. That's the flagellum. I can't find it. Here it is. Here you can see all the relationships between them that are being calculated currently, and again you're only seeing like 1/8 of the whole screen.